Hey guys, tonight we're about to wander across one of the largest deserts in the world, the Sahara, home to vast sand dunes, endless horizons, and buried deep beneath the sands, the secrets of lost cities that have been forgotten for centuries. Imagine walking under the blistering sun, your feet sinking slightly into the soft, golden grains. Yet, buried under all that beauty, a hidden world of once thriving settlements waits patiently for rediscovery. These cities, once bustling with life, commerce, and culture, now lie forgotten, waiting for the desert to yield its mysteries. You probably won't survive this adventure without some serious hydration and a cool hat. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Go ahead, drop a comment telling me where you're tuning in from and what time it is in your part of the world. I love hearing from you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. In the Sahara, the remnants of cities like the ancient Libyan city of Tadrart Akakis tell a story of flourishing human life in a place that now seems impossible to sustain. This lost city was a center of trade long before it became buried beneath layers of sand. Yet, what's truly mind-boggling is how such complex societies managed to thrive in one of the harshest environments on Earth. These settlements were home to traders, scholars, and even great artists, leaving behind intricate rock paintings of long-gone animals and humans, all carefully etched into the cliff faces. Historians still argue whether this society was a trading hub or a religious center, or perhaps a combination of both. As you picture these scenes, imagine how vibrant it must have been. Marketplaces, sounds of barter, and the exchange of ideas as traders from all across Africa met to share goods and knowledge. But over time, these cities slowly disappeared, swallowed by the very desert that once gave them life. They leave us with little more than art on the rocks to tell their stories. As we move on, imagine yourself now in Ethiopia, home to a kingdom that once rivaled the great empires of the world, the Kingdom of Aksum. It's not a name many are familiar with today, but if you were to travel back in time, you'd find yourself amidst the towering obelisks, a city that was a major player in trade and culture. Aksum was known for its wealth, its strong connections with the Roman Empire, and its advanced architecture, particularly its remarkable obelisks, which still stand as silent sentinels, reminding us of a once great civilization. Standing beside these towering stones, you might wonder how such a society rose and fell in relative obscurity. Historians still debate the exact reasons for Aksum's sudden decline. Some suggest climate change or overuse of resources, while others point to political instability or even the rise of Islam, which altered trade routes and shifted the region's power structures. But as you stand in front of these colossal obelisks, each one intricately carved and reaching towards the sky, it's hard not to feel the weight of history, an empire that flourished, only to fade away without leaving much behind except these stone monoliths. And yet, beneath these structures lies another layer of mystery. The treasures of Aksum, gold, coins, and ivory, are often said to have been hidden away before the kingdom's downfall. Some legends even claim that the famous Ark of the Covenant was kept here, hidden from the world in the sacred city of Aksum. Whether it's the truth or merely a piece of folklore, the idea that this small kingdom once held such power and mystery adds to the allure of its forgotten grandeur. But just as quickly as it rose, the kingdom of Aksum faded into history, leaving behind questions that we still haven't fully answered. What made this kingdom so powerful? And why did it disappear so suddenly? All we have are the ruins and the whispers of its once thriving life. Now, let's take a moment to drift across the Mediterranean to the coast of North Africa, where the great city of Carthage once stood. Imagine yourself walking along the bustling streets of this ancient Phoenician city, feeling the salty breeze of the sea against your skin and hearing the vibrant chatter of traders and travelers from all corners of the ancient world. Carthage, founded by the Phoenicians in the 9th century BCE, was a jewel of trade and culture. It was a metropolis that rivaled Rome for centuries, and yet, in the end, it was consumed by the very empire it once challenged. The tale of Carthage's rise and fall is one of the most dramatic in ancient history. The city was a powerhouse of commerce, controlling vital trade routes across the Mediterranean, and it was home to stunning architecture, vast harbors, and legendary military commanders like Hannibal, who famously crossed the Alps with his elephants during the Second Punic War. Historians still argue over whether Hannibal's strategy was brilliant or doomed to fail from the start. But one thing is certain: his audacious campaign left a lasting mark on history. However, the ultimate fate of Carthage is a tragic one. After the brutal Third Punic War, Carthage was completely destroyed by the Romans in 146 BCE. The city was razed to the ground, its people slaughtered or sold into slavery, and its fields salted to ensure nothing would ever grow there again. Yet, despite this devastating destruction, Carthage's influence lived on, especially through its powerful legacy in trade, military strategy, and the cultural exchanges it sparked across the Mediterranean. Even in ruins, Carthage remains a symbol of both grandeur and ruin, a reminder of the delicate balance between power and downfall. As you imagine this once thriving city now reduced to a shadow, you might wonder, what secrets does Carthage still hold? What did they know about the world that we've long since forgotten? Now, let's take a step into the heart of West Africa, into a city that once served as the intellectual center of the world, Timbuktu. Close your eyes and imagine the streets lined with booksellers and scholars, the air thick with the scent of paper, ink, and incense. The city was a melting pot of knowledge, where scholars traveled from across Africa, the Middle East, and even Europe to exchange ideas and study in the great libraries. Timbuktu wasn't just a city, it was a beacon of learning, a place where knowledge flourished long before it was lost to time. At its peak in the 14th and 15th centuries, Timbuktu was a major hub for Islamic scholarship, hosting some of the most respected universities and libraries in the world. The city's greatest treasure wasn't its gold or its exotic trade routes. It was its vast collection of manuscripts, many of which contained knowledge about astronomy, mathematics, and medicine that was far ahead of its time. In fact, it's said that Timbuktu's libraries housed more than 700,000 manuscripts, some of which are still being uncovered today. Historians still argue whether the city's wealth was primarily due to its intellectual prowess or the valuable gold it traded, but one thing is certain: Timbuktu was a jewel of knowledge in a time when the world's great libraries were few and far between. However, the city's brilliance was short-lived. By the 16th century, the rise of European colonial powers and the advent of Portuguese exploration led to a decline in Timbuktu's importance. The city's once vibrant intellectual life faded, and many of its priceless manuscripts were lost or destroyed. Yet, the remnants of Timbuktu's legacy are still felt today. The manuscripts that have been preserved continue to inspire scholars, and the city's history as a hub of knowledge serves as a reminder of the vast intellectual achievements that were once housed there. Timbuktu's story is one of incredible intellectual flourishing, followed by tragic decline. But as we think about the lost wisdom it once held, we might wonder, how much of our history have we forgotten simply because the pages were turned too quickly? Let's now wander to the southeastern part of Africa, where we find the awe-inspiring remains of Great Zimbabwe. Picture yourself standing in front of massive stone walls, the sun setting behind them, casting long shadows across the land. These ruins, though weathered by time, are an impressive testament to a once thriving civilization that has left us with one of Africa's most extraordinary architectural feats. Great Zimbabwe was the center of the Kingdom of Zimbabwe, a powerful empire that flourished between the 11th and 15th centuries. Its grand structures, most notably the Great Enclosure, a massive circular stone wall, stand as a silent witness to the ingenuity and skill of its builders. Historians have long debated the purpose of these enormous stone structures. Some believe the Great Enclosure was a royal palace, while others suggest it was a religious site or even a marketplace. What's fascinating is how the people of Great Zimbabwe constructed such grand structures without the use of mortar, relying solely on dry stone masonry. It's still unclear exactly how they managed this feat, as their techniques were lost to time. Some experts even believe that the builders used an early form of complex mathematical calculations in their construction. Yet, despite the awe-inspiring architecture, the Kingdom of Zimbabwe eventually fell into decline by the late 15th century. The reasons for its collapse are still a mystery, some attribute it to overpopulation and environmental degradation, while others argue that changing trade routes and political instability played a role. The ruins of Great Zimbabwe were largely forgotten for centuries, with European explorers in the 19th century initially dismissing them as the work of outsiders, not the native African population. Historians still argue about the real reasons behind the city's fall, and whether the collapse was inevitable or could have been avoided. But what remains is a monument to a lost civilization. A civilization that, for centuries, had thrived in ways that we are only beginning to understand. As you walk through these ruins, you might wonder, what other secrets are hidden in the walls of Great Zimbabwe? What stories remain untold, buried beneath the stones and sand? Next, we find ourselves journeying into the heart of Sudan, where the Kingdom of Kush once thrived. Imagine standing at the foot of a pyramid, its sharp edges cutting through the clear desert sky. The Kingdom of Kush, located in what is now Sudan, was a powerful civilization that flourished for centuries, with a rich culture that left behind awe-inspiring monuments and a history filled with intrigue. The Kushites are often overshadowed by their more famous neighbors, Egypt, but in many ways their story is just as captivating. The Kingdom of Kush had a unique relationship with Egypt. At times they were allies and at others rivals. In fact, the Kushites were so powerful that they conquered Egypt in the 8th century BCE, establishing what is known as the 25th dynasty, often called the Kushite dynasty. The Kushite pharaohs ruled Egypt for almost a century, leaving behind impressive monuments and temples that blended Egyptian style with their own unique traditions. Yet, Kush's influence over Egypt eventually waned, and the kingdom itself was taken over by various foreign powers. But even after the fall of the Kushite dynasty, the Kingdom of Kush continued to leave its mark. The ruins of the pyramids at Meroë, one of the kingdom's most important capitals, still stand tall today. The Meroë pyramids are unique in that they are much smaller and more steeply angled than their Egyptian counterparts, and their remains suggest that they were built for royal burials. The reason for the sudden rise of these pyramids and the decline of Kushite power is still up for debate among historians. Some believe the kingdom's decline was due to the constant pressure of Egyptian invasions, while others suggest that it was a result of internal strife or environmental changes. Historians still argue over whether the Kushites were defeated by the rise of Christianity in the region or the expansion of the Arab forces in the 7th century. As you stand among the pyramids of Meroë, it's easy to feel the weight of history, a forgotten kingdom that once ruled over vast lands and stood as a fierce competitor to Egypt's might. But the Kingdom of Kush's legacy, though often overlooked, continues to captivate archaeologists and historians alike, who still seek to unlock the mysteries of this enigmatic civilization. Now let's head west, where we find ourselves in the mysterious land of Nok, home to one of Africa's most ancient and enigmatic civilizations. Imagine yourself walking through a dense forest, the sun filtering through the leaves, and suddenly stumbling upon an incredible sight, small terracotta statues peering out from the underbrush. These figures, many with intricate hairstyles, elaborate clothing and stern expressions, belong to the ancient Nok civilization, which flourished in what is now Nigeria from around 1000 BCE to 300 CE. The Nok people are best known for their remarkable terracotta sculptures, which were among the first examples of art on the African continent. But despite the beauty and sophistication of these artifacts, very little is known about the Nok civilization. The statues, often human figures with exaggerated features, are thought to have had a religious or ceremonial purpose, though their exact role in Nok society remains unclear. What's particularly striking about the Nok culture is the advanced level of artistry they achieved. The sculptures are highly detailed and reflect a deep understanding of form and symmetry. Some experts even believe that the Nok people developed early forms of bronze casting, though evidence of this technique has yet to be definitively proven. Historians still argue whether the Nok civilization was part of a larger cultural movement across West Africa, or whether it was a completely isolated development. What is clear, however, is that the Nok people were ahead of their time in many ways. They created large iron furnaces, which may have been among the first to produce iron in sub-Saharan Africa. Yet, despite their remarkable achievements, the Nok civilization mysteriously vanished around the 3rd century CE, and no one knows exactly why. Some believe it was due to environmental changes, while others suggest it could have been caused by internal conflicts or invasions from neighboring groups. As you think about the Nok people, it's hard not to feel a sense of awe at their artistry and ingenuity. How could a civilization so advanced be forgotten by history? And what other secrets might these silent statues still be hiding in the earth? Let's now head into the heart of the Sahel region, where once stood the great city of Gengeno. Picture yourself walking along dusty paths, the sun high in the sky, as you pass by crumbling mud brick structures that once stood as a testament to a thriving metropolis. Gengeno was one of the oldest urban settlements in sub-Saharan Africa, existing from around 250 BCE to the 10th century CE. It was a major center of trade and culture, located along the Niger River in what is now Mali. Imagine the bustling markets filled with merchants selling salt, gold, and other precious goods, and the vibrant communities that lived within its high walls. What made Gengeno so remarkable was not just its age, but its construction. The city was built using a unique type of mud brick known as adobe, which helped protect it from the harsh desert sun. The city's people built impressive structures, including a massive city wall and a complex network of houses and public spaces. Gengeno's urban planning was far ahead of its time, with streets laid out in a pattern that suggests a deep understanding of social organization and city development. Historians still argue whether Gengeno was the capital of a larger, unified kingdom or a smaller, independent trading hub. While the city's exact role in the larger political landscape remains unclear, its importance as a center of trade and culture is undeniable. The decline of Gengeno is just as mysterious as its rise. By the 10th century, the city began to slowly fade from prominence. The reasons for its decline are still debated among scholars. Some point to the shifting trade routes that bypassed Gengeno in favor of other cities, while others believe that the rise of Islam in the region and the establishment of new political entities led to the city's eventual abandonment. What's particularly fascinating is that while Gengeno was largely forgotten by history, its legacy lived on in the nearby city of Gen, which continues to thrive today. As you wander through the remnants of Gengeno, it's impossible not to wonder, what stories could these ancient walls tell if they could speak? How did this great city, once the heart of West Africa's trade networks, fade into the shadows of history? Now, let's make our way to the rugged highlands of Ethiopia, where we come upon one of the most awe-inspiring sights in the world, the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela. Imagine stepping into the cool, sacred air of these ancient structures, carved directly from solid rock, their intricate facades glowing in the soft light of dawn. The churches of Lalibela, dating back to the 12th century, are a marvel of engineering and devotion. Carved from volcanic tuff, these churches were constructed as a reflection of Jerusalem, offering a place of pilgrimage and prayer for Ethiopian Christians. The most fascinating aspect of Lalibela is that these churches were not built above ground as one might expect, but were instead carved downward into the rock itself, creating entire subterranean cathedrals. Each church, with its intricate carvings, narrow passageways, and sacred symbolism, feels like a living testament to the dedication of the people who built them. Some say that the work was so complex that it could only have been done with divine assistance. Historians still debate the exact methods used to carve the churches, with some arguing that advanced tools were employed, while others suggest that a form of spiritual engineering was at play. Despite their historical significance, the churches of Lalibela are also a mystery. The city of Lalibela was once a thriving religious center, but by the 16th century, it had fallen into decline. The reasons for the city's fall are unclear, though some historians speculate that the rise of Islam in the region and the shifts in political power may have contributed to the decline. Yet, despite the city's fall, Lalibela's churches continue to stand as a symbol of both Ethiopia's religious devotion and its architectural ingenuity. As you imagine yourself standing in the cool, dim light of these rock-hewn churches, you might wonder, what other secrets do these sacred sites hold? What stories have been whispered in their stone walls, waiting to be heard again? Next, we find ourselves caught in the myths and legends surrounding the lost city of Zinj, an ancient city that has captured the imagination of explorers and treasure hunters for centuries. Picture yourself walking through a lush, untamed jungle, the air thick with humidity as you follow a winding path. The leaves rustle above you, hiding the secrets of a place that may have never existed, or perhaps it was just waiting to be rediscovered. The lost city of Zinj is one of those tantalizing legends that continues to elude even the most seasoned explorers. According to ancient accounts, Zinj was a city of unimaginable wealth, filled with treasures beyond anyone's wildest dreams. The story of Zinj comes to us from the 10th century writings of the Persian geographer, Ibn Hawqal, who described it as a city rich in gold and spices, hidden deep in the heart of Africa. Some historians believe that Zinj was the precursor to the fabled kingdom of Prester John, a legendary Christian king said to rule a vast and wealthy kingdom somewhere in Africa. Others suggest that Zinj was a center of trade, a vibrant metropolis where goods from across the continent were exchanged. Despite these tantalizing accounts, however, no evidence of such a city has ever been found. Historians still argue whether Zinj was a real place, a myth created by the wandering merchants of the time, or whether it was a name given to a large, unknown city that once thrived along the East African coast. Many explorers throughout history have tried, and failed, to uncover the location of Zinj. In the 19th century, the search for the city became particularly intense, with countless expeditions launched to find its fabled riches. But every attempt seemed to end in frustration. What's particularly intriguing about Zinj is how it became a part of African folklore, with many locals in East Africa still telling stories about a lost city that once held treasures beyond imagination. Perhaps Zinj wasn't a city at all, but rather an idea, a place that was so alluring, so full of mystery, that it grew in the minds of those who sought it. As you wander through the dense jungle in search of this elusive city, you might wonder, is Zinj just a myth? Or does it lie hidden, waiting for someone to uncover its secrets? Let's now journey northward, into the heart of the ancient kingdom of Meroë, located in modern-day Sudan. Picture yourself standing in front of the magnificent royal pyramids of Meroë, their tall, sharp peaks reaching into the sky. These pyramids, unlike the ones in Egypt, are steeper and smaller, yet their grandeur is undeniable. Meroë was the capital of the Kingdom of Kush, and its royal necropolis, a vast burial ground for the kings and queens of the kingdom, is a testament to the power and wealth that once flourished here. The Kingdom of Meroë was a formidable force in ancient Africa, and its people were known for their impressive ironworking skills, advanced engineering, and military prowess. The pyramids of Meroë stand as a reminder of the kingdom's royal lineage, with more than 40 pyramids scattered across the landscape. The kingdom itself flourished from around 800 BCE to 350 CE and was a major center for trade, connecting sub-Saharan Africa with the Mediterranean world. The Meroites were highly skilled in iron production, creating tools and weapons that helped them maintain dominance in the region. Yet, despite their impressive achievements, the kingdom eventually began to decline. Historians still debate the reasons for Meroë's fall. Some believe that it was due to the exhaustion of the region's iron resources, while others argue that the decline was brought on by the changing political and military dynamics in the region. Meroë's decline is a mystery that continues to baffle historians. What led to the downfall of such a powerful kingdom? Was it the changing trade routes that bypassed Meroë, or perhaps the rise of new empires that challenged its dominance? What is certain is that the pyramids of Meroë, with their mysterious inscriptions and stunning architecture, continue to stand as silent witnesses to the kingdom's forgotten glory. They are a symbol of a lost civilization, one that once thrived in the heart of Africa. As you stand before these ancient pyramids, you might wonder, what else remains hidden beneath the sand? What stories have yet to be uncovered from this long-lost kingdom? Our next stop takes us to the ancient heart of Africa once more, to the enigmatic ruins of the Aksumite Empire. Imagine yourself walking through the shadow of towering obelisks, their sharp stone faces casting long shadows on the ground below. The city of Aksum, located in modern-day Ethiopia, was the capital of the Aksumite Empire, one of the greatest civilizations of the ancient world. Aksum thrived from about the 4th century BCE to the 7th century CE, and its obelisks, which still stand today, are a testament to the empire's advanced engineering and cultural richness. These towering monuments were once part of a grander city, a city that was known for its power, wealth, and influence. The Aksumite Empire was a true force in the ancient world, controlling trade routes that connected Africa, the Middle East, and India. At its peak, the empire was a major center for the exchange of goods such as gold, ivory, and frankincense. It was also a cultural and religious hub, home to one of the first Christian kingdoms in the world. In the 4th century, King Ezana of Aksum converted to Christianity, making Aksum one of the first states to officially adopt Christianity as its state religion. This momentous shift played a pivotal role in shaping the region's culture and identity. However, the fall of Aksum remains a mystery. Historians still debate the causes of its decline. Some believe that environmental factors such as soil degradation or a changing climate played a role. Others suggest that the rise of Islam and the shifting trade routes may have contributed to Aksum's downfall. The city eventually fell into decline by the 7th century, and the obelisks that once marked the grandeur of the city were left standing as silent witnesses to a lost civilization. As you stand among these ancient stone monuments, it's impossible not to wonder, what could have caused such a powerful empire to fade into history? And what stories still lie buried beneath the earth, waiting to be discovered? Let's take a step back into the realm of myth, and travel to a place lost in the mists of time, Ophir, the legendary city of gold. Picture yourself on a grand adventure, sailing across vast oceans, following a route through ancient deserts, and uncovering the fabled treasures of this city that explorers have searched for centuries. The city of Ophir is a name that comes up again and again in ancient texts, from the Bible to the writings of explorers from both ancient Israel and the Mediterranean. It is described as a land of unimaginable wealth, with abundant gold, precious stones, ivory, and exotic animals. King Solomon's ships, according to the Bible, are said to have sailed to Ophir to bring back vast quantities of gold and other treasures. But the most intriguing part of Ophir's story is its mysterious location. Despite numerous searches over thousands of years, no one has ever definitively located the city. Some historians and archaeologists believe Ophir was located somewhere along the coasts of the Arabian Peninsula, while others argue that it may have been on the eastern shores of Africa, perhaps in the region of modern-day Somalia or even further south. There are even theories that suggest Ophir might not have been a city at all, but a trade route or a series of ports, with the treasures coming from many different places rather than one specific location. Historians still debate the reality of Ophir's existence. Was it a city at all, or merely a legend crafted by traders and sailors who wished to impress others with tales of riches beyond imagination? The allure of Ophir has never faded, though, and its myth continues to inspire treasure hunters and explorers. As you imagine yourself walking through the golden streets of Ophir, the dazzling treasures all around you, you can't help but feel the pull of that ancient longing for something lost. Perhaps Ophir never truly existed, or perhaps it's simply hidden, waiting to be rediscovered. Whatever the case may be, its legend lives on, a shimmering memory of a time when gold flowed freely and the impossible seemed just within reach. Let's now journey along the Swahili coast, where the forgotten ruins of ancient cities stand silently beneath the relentless tide of the Indian Ocean. Imagine yourself walking along a deserted beach, the sound of waves crashing in the distance, as you approach the remains of what were once thriving trading hubs. These cities, built between the 9th and 15th centuries, were the heart of a flourishing maritime trade network that spanned across the Indian Ocean, linking Africa, Arabia, Persia, and India. The cities of the Swahili coast were centers of commerce, culture, and innovation, built with coral stone and characterized by their unique blend of African, Arab, and Persian architectural styles. One of the most notable of these ancient cities is Kilwa Kisiwani, located on an island off the coast of modern-day Tanzania. Kilwa was once a powerful city-state that controlled the trade of gold, ivory, and slaves. Its grand mosques, palaces, and other structures still stand as silent witnesses to the city's former glory. Historians still argue over the exact reasons for Kilwa's decline, with some attributing it to the shifting trade routes and the rise of Portuguese colonial influence in the region. Others suggest that internal conflict and environmental changes, such as the deterioration of the coastline, may have played a role in the city's downfall. But Kilwa was not the only city of the Swahili coast to meet such a fate. Cities like Gedi, Mombasa, and Zanzibar once flourished as thriving ports, but over time many of them were abandoned, their riches looted or lost. What is particularly fascinating about these ancient cities is the mix of cultures and influences that shaped their development. The Swahili coast cities were a melting pot of African, Arab, Persian, and even Indian cultures, creating a vibrant, diverse society that was ahead of its time. These cities were the focal points of a vast trade network, where goods and ideas were exchanged freely across continents. As you walk through the ruins, it's hard not to wonder what the inhabitants of these cities saw as their greatest treasures. Not just gold and spices, but the very culture they created. And what other forgotten cities along the Swahili coast remain hidden beneath the sands, waiting to be uncovered? Finally, let us wander into the heart of West Africa, to the fabled kingdom of Mali, once one of the richest and most powerful empires in the world. Picture yourself walking through the bustling streets of its capital, Timbuktu, a city famed for its grand mosques, scholars, and bustling markets filled with gold, salt, and books. The Kingdom of Mali, which flourished from the 13th to the 16th centuries, was a center of wealth, culture, and knowledge. Its rulers, especially Mansa Musa, are still legendary for their immense wealth and grand exploits. Mansa Musa, who famously made a pilgrimage to Mecca in the 14th century, is said to have distributed so much gold along the way that it caused a temporary inflation of the price of gold in the regions he passed through. The Kingdom of Mali controlled vast stretches of land, from the salt mines of the Sahara to the gold mines of the Bambuk region. Timbuktu, the heart of the empire, was not only a major trading hub but also a center of learning, home to some of the most revered scholars of the time. The city's universities and libraries contain thousands of manuscripts, covering subjects as diverse as astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and law. Historians still argue whether the wealth of the Mali Empire came primarily from its gold reserves or the vast trade networks it controlled. But one thing is certain: Mali was a beacon of African civilization during its golden age. Its influence felt far beyond the African continent. However, despite its power and wealth, the Kingdom of Mali began to decline in the 15th century. Several factors contributed to its fall, including internal strife, invasions by neighboring kingdoms, and the decline in the gold trade. By the 16th century, the empire had fractured, and its once great capital of Timbuktu slowly faded into the shadows. Yet even in its decline, Mali's legacy as a center of wealth, culture, and intellectual achievement has never been forgotten. The treasures of Timbuktu, with its vast libraries and the stories of Mansa Musa's legendary wealth, continue to captivate the imagination of historians and adventurers alike. As you walk through the ruins of Mali's former glory, you might wonder, what was it like to live in such a thriving, powerful empire? And what other stories from the Kingdom of Mali are still waiting to be discovered beneath the sands of time?